I was on a mission, dropped into the body of a novel's villainous side character. The job: zero out the obsessive female leads, love meter for me before the hero gets back from overseas. A wicked grin spread across my face. I do the opposite. I be the clingiest, most psycho boyfriend she'd ever had. 24/7 phone calls, forcing her to play the part of a doting housewife, making her my pet. But after I called her my little vixen in front of a whole crowd and saw the way her eyes lit up, I had a sinking feeling. What if she's the type who gets off on this stuff? I'd been ice-guyed into a story that had gone completely off the rails. Cast as the villainous pretty boy boyfriend the female lead was dangerously obsessed with. A voice in my head, my system, laid out the deal: get the dangerously possessive Isabel Vance to fall out of love with me before the actual hero of the story returns to the States, and I'd walk away with $10 million. The number echoed in my head, and I shot up from the bed like a spring-loaded trap. Don't you worry, system, I said to the empty room. When it comes to making people hate me, I'm a natural. As I was happily daydreaming about all the ways to spend my $10 million payday, the system chimed in with a warning. Don't underestimate her affection levels. Even if you slapped her, she'd probably lick your hand. If you killed her, she'd call you handsome while she was bleeding out. My smile twitched. That wasn't affection. That was a full-blown paraphilia. My system was apparently a bargain bin model from the bottom shelf of the system universe, so I had no special items or power-ups. But I wasn't worried. There's only one way to deal with an obsessive psycho: be an even bigger one. When Isabel Vance finally walked through the door, I hit the stop button on my phone's timer. Her eyes, dark and intense, scanned the apartment. The predatory tension in her shoulders seemed to melt away the moment she saw me. "Ethan," she said, her voice a low purr as she approached. "You were so good today. You didn't even try to run." Her lips curved into a beautiful smile, but her eyes were filled with a possessive, almost pathological adoration. I kept my face a perfect, emotionless mask. I didn't say a word. "Still not talking to me?" Her hand reached out, aiming for my cheek. The system shrieked in my head. "Host? Host, you're drooling. Don't let it drip on her hand." I snapped my gaze away from her face, forcing myself to clear my throat and deliver the lines I'd been rehearsing all day. "Isabel, you've been gone for 9 hours, 16 minutes, and 23 seconds. I want a full explanation of where you've been. Do you have any idea how close I was to a complete mental breakdown waiting for you? Are you trying to kill me? Is there another man? Are you cheating on me?" The words hung in the air. The system was stunned into silence. "Host, I know she's hot, but we have a job to do here." Isabel's own eyes, which had been clouded with obsession, cleared with a flicker of shock, then confusion, then a strange sort of awkwardness. I snatched her phone from her hand and started swiping through her apps, checking her texts. "Ethan, I was just at work." She was, to her credit, completely loyal to the character I was playing. Her phone was clean. I tossed the phone onto the coffee table and crossed my arms. "Really? I don't believe you." Isabel's brow furrowed. "Ethan, stop messing around." "Messing around?" The perfect cue. I clamped down on the corners of my mouth, shot her a look of theatrical fury, and promptly threw myself onto the floor. I started rolling back and forth, drumming my fists on the hardwood. "You think I'm just messing around? You don't love me anymore, do you? You found someone else. You're sick of me." The change in my behavior was so abrupt it shocked her. She covered her mouth. "No, Ethan, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry." The floor was hard. My bones were starting to ache. I sat up. "I need to see the security footage from your office." I didn't care if she was a psycho CEO or not. Nobody wants to go back to the office after a long day. As predicted, she looked hesitant. "If I go back now, they'll make me stay and work late." I pounced. "Then you're hiding something. We're breaking up." The word breakup was a trigger. The warmth vanished from her face, replaced by an icy calm. "Don't even think about it. I would sooner die than break up with you." "Then take me to your office." She hesitated again. I let out a long, mournful wail and prepared to resume my floor-rolling routine. "All right, fine," she snapped, stopping me. "I'll take you." Suddenly, the system's voice was buzzing with excitement. "Dude, you're amazing." Her love meter just dropped. It went down by 5 whole points. After we reviewed the security footage, which showed nothing but her working, Isabel was, of course, roped into staying late. I went home with a cheerful smile, turned off all the lights, and sat waiting in the pitch-black apartment. At 1 in the morning, Isabel dragged her exhausted body through the bedroom door, her footsteps feather-light so as not to wake me. She slid into bed beside me. I gave a moment, timing it perfectly. Just as her breathing evened out into the rhythm of sleep, I let out a blood-curdling scream. She shot upright, instantly alert and panicked. "What is it? Did the project proposal get rejected?" I grab her arm, my eyes wide and serious. If I turn into a cockroach, would you still love me? I had to hand it to her. Her devotion was absolute. She blinked, her mind still foggy with sleep. Yes, she said. I smiled. What if I turned into a pile of garbage? A foot with a serious case of athlete's foot? A glob of phlegm you couldn't swallow? Would you still love me then? The more I spoke, the deeper the frown lines on her forehead became. Ethan, stop. That's disgusting. Disgusting? Keyword acquired. I started wailing, launching into the most pathetic, self-pitying monologue I could muster. I am a lost puppy in the rain, the third button on a shirt that no one ever uses. I am option E on a multiple-choice test. I am plan B. I am. Goosebumps erupted on her skin. She clamped both hands over my mouth, her face a mask of pure exhaustion under her dark circles. I'd love you, she said, her voice deadpan. I'd love you no matter what you turned into. Now, please go to sleep. I struggled to free my mouth. Then you have to hold me tonight. Isabel froze, a look of genuine, trembling surprise on her face. Her voice was barely a whisper. You let me touch you? Afraid I'd change my mind, she immediately wrapped her arms around me and pulled me close. But did she really think this villainous side character would make it that easy? I pressed myself against her. The second I felt her grip loosen even a fraction, I would jolt awake with a shriek and demand to know if she still loved me. She didn't sleep a wink all night. The system's announcer voice cheerfully reported her dropping love meter score with every passing hour. When I woke up, she was already gone, presumably at work. The system's voice was practically vibrating with glee. Buddy, you're my hero. The last few guys who had this mission tried playing it cool and distant, and it never worked. Turns out, the answer was to go in the complete opposite direction. I waved a hand dismissively, the picture of elegance. What's her score now? 90. The hero was due back in 2 days. This wasn't fast enough. I ran a hand through my hair, got dressed, and hailed a lift straight to Isabel's company headquarters. I didn't rest on the way. I kept my thumb busy, launching a nonstop barrage of calls to her phone. Her voice, when she finally picked up, held a faint trace of amusement. I never knew you cared so much, Ethan, she said. I'm in a meeting. To prove it, and to reassure my supposedly fragile psyche, she switched to FaceTime. My eyes, sharp as a hawk's, immediately zeroed in on the secretary sitting next to her. The woman was dressed in a ridiculously flimsy top and was practically draped all over Isabel. Trying so hard to look seductive, she was practically giving herself whiplash. By the time I arrived, Isabel was still in her meeting. I marched straight into the glass-walled conference room and slammed a venti iced latte down on the table, drenching the secretary's paperwork and splashing all over her silk blouse. She gasped, then immediately put on a wounded, innocent expression. Isabel, why is your husband being so hostile toward me? It's fiancé, I corrected sharply. I turned to Isabel, my voice trembling with theatrical rage. She was hitting on you. Why are you defending her? Don't you love me anymore? Are you trying to drive me insane? I get it now. I'm just a split end on your perfect hair, a carton of expired milk in the back of the fridge, a kite with a broken string. Isabel scrambled to her feet, flustered, trying to haul me out of the room while simultaneously telling everyone to clear out. She pulled me into her private office, her voice gentle but laced with an exhaustion she couldn't hide. Ethan, I need time to work. It's how I provide for us. What's gotten into you lately? Why are you so clingy? As she peeled me off her, I slid down and wrapped my arms around her leg. I love you. Please don't leave me. I want to be with you every single second of every single day. The patience in Isabel's eyes was wearing dangerously thin. The original character I was playing was the former campus heartthrob from NYU, an arrogant trust fund kid who had never treated Isabel with anything but disdain, which, perversely, only made her love him more. Now here I was, groveling like a pathetic dog, and in doing so, I was stripping away the very quality she found most attractive. Just then, the system pinged. Her love meter had dropped another 5 points. I decided to quit while I was ahead. I stood up and dusted myself off. Fine, I won't bother you anymore. See you after work. Okay, Isabel said, a little too quickly. Don't leave, the system screamed in my head. This is your chance. Press the attack. I mentally muted the system and walked out. I camped out a coffee shop across the street, nursing a single espresso until 5 o'clock when I finally saw Isabel emerge from the building. I fell in a step behind her, making no effort to hide the obnoxious, echoing clap of my dress shoes on the pavement. An obsessive pro like Isabel has definitely noticed you're following her, the system muttered stubbornly. Don't care, I thought back. My footsteps grew louder, more aggressive, practically striking sparks on the sidewalk. With every stomp, it felt like the whole world was reverberating under my feet. Isabel started walking faster. I matched her pace, my legs a blur of motion, a world-class sprinter ignoring the baffled stares of passersby. "Enough!" she finally yelled, spinning around. She dragged me home and confronted me. "Ethan, you have been acting so strangely lately." I feigned a sob. "I just feel so insecure. You know I don't have a job. All I can do is wait at home for you." The words were true, but who in their right mind would want to work? I had to physically pinch my thigh to keep from laughing out loud. But it worked. Isabel's expression softened. She turned to go make dinner, clearly intending to drop the subject. Not a chance. While her back was turned, I grabbed her phone, unlocked it with the passcode I'd memorized, and went to work. Contact name is a guy. Delete. Cute profile picture. Delete. Contact is a woman. I don't trust it. Delete. I wiped her entire contact list clean. Then I changed her WhatsApp status to happily taken by my husband and set her profile picture and chat background to a new selfie I'd just taken. Finally, I cleared her call history. Job done. After dinner, Isabel opened her laptop to work as usual. She squinted at the screen, then at her phone, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. She restarted both devices, probably thinking it was some kind of app bug. When the horrible realization finally dawned on her that this was my handiwork, she snapped. At first, she tried to be patient, asking me what on earth I was trying to accomplish. After I responded with another round of pathetic whining, she finally broke. "You've completely destroyed my social life and my professional network. I need room to breathe. We need to take some time apart to cool off." With that, she turned and walked toward the door. A chasm of panic opened beneath me. "Are you breaking up with me? You don't love me. Everything you said was a lie, wasn't it?" I'm literally shaking with rage right now. My hands are trembling. Isabel actually glanced at my hands, so I immediately started vibrating them as if I had Parkinson's. To make my desperate, clingy act even more convincing, I let out a primal scream and launched myself at her. "You're not leaving me." I latched onto her and started gnawing on her shoulder, like a man so consumed by love he had to devour its object. Isabel tried to push me away, wiping my slobber off her jacket while still trying to shuffle toward the door. I used every ounce of my strength, even digging my toes into the floor to increase the friction, clinging to her like a human barnacle. I wrapped my arms and legs around one side of her body, dangling in midair. She swung me back and forth, trying to shake me loose. Finally, in a stroke of genius, she started shucking off her blazer and slacks, hoping I'd slide off with the clothes. But the moment I saw her SpongeBob SquarePants boxer shorts, I let out a yelp and dropped to the floor myself. Round 1 of Ethan versus Isabel goes to Isabel. I lost, and now I was grimacing in pain. Isabel rushed to my side, her voice filled with apology as she knelt and examined my ankle. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. I'll call a doctor right now." The character I inhabited was slender and fragile. One bad fall, and my ankle was dislocated. The moment the urgent care doctor confirmed the diagnosis, my heart sank. Limited mobility. I could only hobble around. I couldn't stick to Isabel like glue anymore. My mission was doomed. I'd have to wait for the hero to return and admit defeat. That night, I lay in bed, staring quietly at the starry sky outside the window. Isabel came in with a glass of water and my pain medication, feeding me the pills one by one. Fine. Even if the mission failed, getting to stare at a face like hers wasn't the worst consolation prize. The throbbing in my ankle was unbearable. To distract me, Isabel gently started massaging it. I leaned my head against her chest and suddenly remembered a time before all this, before I was dropped into this world. My parents had divorced and both remarried, and neither of them wanted me. I remembered kneeling outside my father's new house, sick and begging for money for medicine, and how he'd drawn a line in the sand between us. He'd stood in the doorway of his perfect new home, holding his new child. "As you can see," he'd said, "I have a family now. Get $200 from the housekeeper and don't come back." I had turned and run, but the feeling of shame and rejection was branded onto my soul. The way Isabel was holding me now was exactly how my father had held that other child. "Isabel," I said suddenly, "can you sing me a lullaby?" She looked confused, but she started patting my back, her voice a soft, low hum as she began to sing. As I drifted off to sleep, I vaguely heard her murmuring to herself. "The others who came before, they just avoided me, or they hit me." She paused. "Your methods are suffocating, but thank you for not hating me." When I woke up the next morning, Isabel was gone. The system chimed in cheerfully. "Congratulations. After a night of hard work, the female lead's love meter has dropped to 70. I stared into space, a giant question mark floating over my head. Your performance has been so exemplary, so full of potential, that I've applied for an extension. Even though the hero is back, you now have a 5-day grace period to complete the mission. Wait, I transmitted back. I didn't do anything last night. The system seemed to ponder this. Perhaps she just really hates being asked to sing? No. After careful analysis, and factoring in Isabel's bizarre, the crueler the better personality, I knew the real reason. Last night was too quiet, too peaceful. She hadn't gotten her fix. Hope surged through me. The system was still muttering to itself. But I swear one of the previous challengers forced her to sing "I Will Survive" at karaoke and her meter went up. Forget that. I interrupted. What else does she hate? The system thought for a moment. She hates being the subject of rumors. Because she's so beautiful, she spent her whole life fighting off rumors that she's a gold digger or an escort. An idea sparked. I grabbed my laptop and opened a new Word document. Every letter I typed was a siren song for my $10 million prize. My eyes were wild, my fingers flying across the keyboard in a furious blur. The keys started to stick, unable to rebound fast enough, but it didn't slow me down. The smile on my face grew more and more unhinged. The system was confused at first, but then it started reading my screen. It was mesmerized and began to read my prose aloud, as if in a trance. Isabel shyly covered herself, a study in coy resistance. Ethan's domineering voice echoed in her ear, sending shivers down her spine. You're not getting away from me, kitten. My 10 fingers were blur, dancing so fast they left after images. The keyboard practically started smoking, but I didn't stop until the sound of the front door opening broke my concentration. Isabel ran over, her eyes wide with alarm, and pressed her hands down on mine. I saw a post on the building's resident portal asking if we were having an earthquake. It was you, just typing. While she was distracted, I quickly typed one last sentence. The more insane the Yandere, the more she loved him, and slammed the laptop shut. Isabel glanced at it. Her Majesty's pampered. Ethan, what are you writing? Nothing, I said, patted her on the head. A sudden warmth entered Isabel's eyes. She lowered her head and let out a soft, quiet laugh. The next day, Isabel had to attend a high society gala. I hobbled along with her on my crutches. To every person who tried to hand me a business card, I responded by handing them a book. I saw the man's lips tremble, his pupils dilate with shock. He shot an incredulous look at Isabel, who was busy talking to someone else and hadn't noticed. I jutted out my chin. That's right. It's my latest work. I hope you'll find the time to read it. By the end of the hour, everyone at the party had a copy of my self-published masterpiece. After a few glasses of champagne, I was feeling drowsy and decided to find a lounge to rest for a bit. Suddenly, a commotion erupted from the center of the ballroom. A light, so bright it felt holy, flooded the room. I was so blinded I had to shut my eyes. What is that? I yelled at the system in my head. Did something explode? No. Host, the system replied, its tone grave. That's the protagonist halo emanating from the male lead. He's back. When the blinding light finally subsided, the hero of the story, Caleb Hayes, was standing right beside me. He gently took Isabel's hand. Izzy, he said, his voice smooth as silk. I'm back. According to the original plot, by this point I, the villain, should have tormented Isabel until she was a hollowed-out shell of a person. Then Caleb, the hero, would swoop in, rescue her, and destroy me. Isabel, however, just awkwardly pulled her arm free. Oh, she said. Caleb's brow furrowed in suspicion. Only then did he seem to notice me standing next to her. What are you still doing here? He asked, surprised. That was weird. In the original novel, Caleb and my character, Ethan, had never even met. Before I could figure it out, Isabel took my hand and introduced me to him. This is my boyfriend. Caleb let out a cold laugh, muttering to himself. First time I've seen one of them actually stick around. You got some nerve. He looked me up and down with a contemptuous gaze, then turned back to Isabel. You might call him your boyfriend, Izzy, but I doubt he'd say the same. He had a point. In the book, my character's daily routine consisted of beating and cursing at Isabel. His words hit their mark. Isabel's hand, holding mine, grew slick with sweat. She looked nervous, almost pitiful. Ethan is my boyfriend, she insisted. He is. At this point, dozens of eyes were on me. This was no time to let her enjoy the drama. I squeezed her hand back and plastered a brilliant smile on my face. Actually, I'm Isabel's fiancé. But that wasn't enough. I leaned in close to her shoulder and, in a stage whisper loud enough for everyone to hear, I purred, my little vixen. A collective gasp went through the room. People turned away, pretending not to look. The entire hall filled with a buzz of hushed whispers. So the book was true. The rumors about what he does to her. Well, I've come to terms with it. Honestly, seeing them together, she does look kind of submissive. The system chirped. Female lead's love meter for the original male character has dropped to 60. Caleb shoved me hard, nearly making me lose my balance. Who the hell do you think you are, getting that close to her? The pain in my dislocated ankle shot up my leg. You want to play rough? Fine. It was time to show him who he was dealing with. I strode toward him, raised my hand high, and with one swift motion, I snatched the perfectly coiffed hairpiece right off his head. Without his meticulously crafted high-volume hair, Caleb panicked. He clapped a hand to his now-flat scalp, his face turning beet red. You? How could you possibly know? A joke. As the person tasked with knowing everything about the male lead, this was child's play. I leaned in close and whispered, studying abroad in Germany is tough, isn't it? Keep talking, and I'll pull that bottle of Rogaine out of your jacket pocket for everyone to see. Caleb instantly fell silent, his eyes burning with hatred as he watched Isabel and me walk away, looking like he wanted to have me drawn and quartered. After making the rounds, Isabel got a call and had to step away. I was busy annihilating the dessert bar when Caleb approached me again. He had already fixed himself up, his chin held so high it was a miracle he could see where he was going. He looked down his nose at me. Isabel wants to see you in the lounge, he sneered. You're finished, Ethan. In the private lounge, Isabel was emanating an arctic chill. Her dark eyes were fixed on the book lying on the table. Caleb let out a triumphant little laugh. See, Izzy? What did I tell you? He's a bad guy. Try to ruin your reputation with this garbage. Isabel tapped a finger on the cover of the book. Ethan, she said, read it to me. The system was ecstatic. She's mad. Go for it. Make her furious. The love meter is going to plummet. I eagerly snatched up the book and, with all the dramatic flair I could muster, began to read aloud. Isabel pounded her little marshmallow-soft fists against his chest in mock anger, but King Ethan slammed her against the wall, trapping her. Milky tears welled in her eyes. Big brother, she whimpered, I'm scared it will hurt. Isabel let out 2 unnatural little coughs and lowered her head even further. System update. Female lead's love meter has dropped to 50. King Ethan pinched her milky white cheek, his aggressive breath ghosting over her lips. Sure, kitten. Big brother won't let hurt. Just let me have a little taste. The tips of Isabel's ears began to turn red. She seemed completely engrossed. Another system update. Love meter down to 40. King Ethan crushed his lips to hers in a non-negotiable kiss. You're mine now, woman, he declared. Isabel actually cracked a smile, looking thoroughly satisfied. Was I seeing things? Caleb looked from Isabel to me, then back again, his face a mask of disbelief. That's enough. Love meter dropped again, landing at 30. Caleb grabbed Isabel's arm. Izzy, look at this trash he's writing. He gave it to everyone here. Now the whole party thinks you're being used by him. He went on, listing all my supposed crimes, but Isabel just held a finger to her lips, shushing him. So what? Caleb's jaw dropped. He looked like he'd misheard. The kid likes to write. Let him write, Isabel said calmly. Besides, Ethan is my fiancé. He's just chronicling our daily life. What's wrong with that? She was a good woman. I'll give her that. Even as her internal love meter for me was tanking, she was still defending me in front of Caleb. I could already picture it. When she finally couldn't stand me anymore, Caleb would forgive her in a heartbeat, and they'd live happily ever after. All I had to do was keep playing the part of the insufferable villain. System, what else does she hate? As the baddest, coolest character in this whole book, she obviously hates being forced to do things. It's a classic romance heroine trait. Okay, I composed myself, walked over to Isabel, and slammed my leg up on the wall behind her. It was a spur-of-the-moment decision, and I'd forgotten which leg was which. I'd used the one with the dislocated ankle. The pain was so intense my face contorted into a grimace. Caleb gasped. Is that a leg on? Isabel quickly covered her eyes. I pulled her hands down. I'm wearing pants. What are you covering your eyes for? Oh, right, she said, lowering her hands. I dropped my voice to a husky whisper and tilted her chin up with my hand. Woman, I command you to come home with me. Immediately. In my mind's eye, I pictured her reaction. Humiliation? Resentment? Tears of violated pride welling up in her eyes. None of the above. Isabel just smiled faintly and said, Okay, this wasn't right. Are you sure she hates being forced? I asked the system, because I feel like she just got her rocks off again. I swear on my motherboard, buddy, I'm sure, the system insisted. Her love meter just dropped to 25. Dubious, I let Isabel out, but I had one more trick up my sleeve. I pulled my wallet out, took out all the credit cards, and started stuffing them one by one into the neckline of her dress. Isabel looked confused. What's this? I pointed a finger at Caleb over my shoulder. Your severance package, woman. From now on, you're forbidden from ever seeing him again. Caleb stomped his foot in fury. You psycho. How can you treat her like that? My gaze shifted to him. It was time for the hero to get a taste of the villain's medicine. I walked slowly toward him. Caleb, intimidated by my aura, took 2 steps back. What do you want? With the speed of a striking viper, I lunged forward, my hands finding the sensitive spots on his waist. I started tickling him mercilessly. Caleb instantly dissolved into helpless, shrieking laughter. No matter how he twisted or dodged, he couldn't escape my demonic fingers. In between gasps, he still managed to curse me out. You scoundrel! You shameless degenerate! I didn't stop until he was a boneless, exhausted heap on the floor. Throughout all this, Isabel's face remained a blank, emotionless mask. See that? Annoyed by your boyfriend's childish antics, aren't you? Upset that I'm trying to break you two up? Let out, Isabel. Unleash the fury. I struck a pose complete with a sinister, playful, untamed, and wildly villainous smirk. Mwaha! Before I could finish my evil laugh, Isabel plucked the credit cards from her dress and stuffed them back into my hand. Ah, a defiant woman. I like it. Ethan, she said, her voice flat. That was my wallet you just took. Those are my credit cards. My face twitched. Isabel wrapped an arm around my waist. But they're all yours now. The system informed me that her love meter had dropped to 20. I don't know if it was my imagination, but Isabel seemed even nicer to me than before. She no longer seemed annoyed by my constant clinginess. She even took a leave of absence from work to stay home and take care of me. When I demanded that the only contact left in her phone be her boss, and that when she was home she was only allowed to look at me, she did it without complaint. Her love meter kept dropping steadily, but the look in her eyes was as soft as water. One morning, I woke up and she was gone. I was just gearing up for a major tantrum when she returned. The door opened and she was standing there, holding a giant teddy bear. She smiled, a little embarrassed. I don't know why. I just suddenly felt like I should get you something today. I silently took the gift, making no further attempts to lower her score. Isabel was a good girlfriend. A great one, even. It was a shame she wouldn't be mine for much longer. With only one day left on the clock, I was sitting on the couch with Isabel, playing a co-op game on the PlayStation. The system's voice was urgent. The love meter is only at 10. Host, just do literally anything and you'll complete the mission. I paused for a second, looking at Isabel beside me. Noticing I had stopped playing, she immediately leaned over and kissed my forehead, her voice impossibly gentle. Are you getting tired? It's nothing, I said, muting the system. Let's keep playing. On the 5th and final day, Isabel was gone. The system sighed. Lucky you, host. Even fate is on your side. Caleb told Isabel he has a secret about you, and she's already on her way to his place. Just then my phone buzzed. A text from Isabel with an address. Ethan, can you come over? There's something I want to say to you in person. This had to be Caleb's house. I took a deep breath. Might as well see this through to the bitter end. There was no point in delaying the inevitable. I decided to go out with one last spectacular bang that would make her despise me forever. System, what's the last thing on her hate list? Being threatened, the system said. It's the ultimate trigger for all romance heroines. Okay, perfect. I found an old Amazon box, tore it up, and taped the cardboard into cylinders around my torso. Half an hour later, I showed up at Caleb's front door wearing a massive faux fur coat, holding a megaphone. Caleb and Isabel came outside. Maybe it was the lingering trauma from the tickle attack, but he kept a wary distance from me. A victorious smirk played on his lips as he held Isabel's hand tightly. See, Izzy? Don't believe me? Ask him yourself. He's not Ethan. He's some kind of imposter, a transmigrator from another world. His voice rose with righteous indignation. Once he gets what he wants, he'll abandon you without a second thought. Isabel just looked at me quietly. Will you? She asked. I covered my mouth, feigning shock. Caleb scoffed. Isn't that proof enough? You don't ask, he doesn't tell. The second you ask, he acts surprised. What a pathetic deflection. He leaned against Isabel's shoulder. I'm the hero of this story, Izzy. We were born to be together. That was my cue. I raised the megaphone to my lips, cocked my head, and yelled, You are surrounded. Woman, I have a bomb strapped to my chest. If you dare choose him, you'll see what happens. I threw open the fur coat to reveal the circle of cardboard tubes I'd taped to my shirt. Caleb's face went white. Isabel's brow furrowed in alarm. Ethan, calm down. I started gesticulating wildly. The turkey trusted the farmer, and the farmer served him for Thanksgiving. I trusted you, and you broke my heart. At the same time, I was screaming at the system in my head. Is the meter dropping or not? This costume is falling apart. Just hold on a little longer, the system yelled back. I had no choice but to push through. The rain was so heavy that day. I lamented, my voice cracking. You said you'd take me home. I threw my head back and let out a manic laugh. Do you have any idea whose love you're rejecting? You're rejecting the love of a god. Stop with the dramatic monologues, the system interrupted. The main goal right now is to make her realize she's hopelessly in love with the hero. I nodded frantically and stuck my hand inside my coat, pretending to press a detonator. In this critical moment, all I needed was for Isabel to show an instinct to shield the hero, and the mission would be complete. If you won't have my love, I roared, then you'll have my hate. Love meter dropping. Wait, bad news, host. Detecting a sudden spike in Isabel's intent. She's going to try and disarm the bomb herself. Before I could even process what that meant, Isabel was flying toward me. She tackled me to the ground, shielding my body with hers. If we die together, she screamed. I can't live without you. Even as she said it, her hands were desperately tearing at the cardboard tubes. When her fingers met the flimsy corrugated paper instead of wires and explosives, she froze. She sat up, staring at me with a blank, stunned expression. I squeezed my eyes shut. Please, system, can I go now? I'm sweating through this fur coat. After a moment of thoughtful silence, the system replied, Buddy, I think you can open your eyes now. It looks like the female lead has managed to talk herself back into loving you. I cracked when I opened. Isabel was looking at me with a dawning, brilliant smile. You didn't want to die, she breathed. You were just jealous, weren't you? Leave it to the romance-obsessed heroine. Even her brain was filled with pink, heart-shaped water. I smiled and nodded. Yes. Oh, thank God. She threw her arms around me, hugging me tightly. And then, finally, the system's voice, calm and clear. Female lead's love value for the original male character has been cleared. Mission complete. Her embrace was warm, just like the night she held me and sang me a lullaby. I let myself linger in her arms for a greedy moment before saying, System, take me home. Host, the system said, and I could have sworn it was trying to stifle a laugh. I don't think she's going to let you go. I looked up, about to ask what it meant, when Caleb, who had been silent this whole time, let out a deranged laugh. Ha ha. Why? Why does he get everything? I'm the hero. Go to hell. Both of you. From somewhere, he produced a small pocket knife and lunged straight at me. At the same moment, his powerful protagonist halo flared to life, blinding both me and Isabel, leaving us exposed like fish on a cutting board. But just before the tip of the blade could touch me, Isabel threw herself in front of me, using her own body as a shield. Caleb, consumed by rage, stabbed her again and again in the back. I heard her gasp, forcing out one last confession in my ear. I know you're here on a mission. I've known for a long time. Her breath was ragged, but I fell in love with you anyway. I even got used to your methods. I actually like how clingy you are. So please, don't leave me. Her voice grew weaker. As long as you don't go. I don't care if the love is fake. I started to cry, panic seizing me. System, call 911. No, wait, call an ambulance first. Called them. Called them both. The system replied frantically. When Isabel was wheeled out of the operating room, I followed her all the way to her private room. I was crying so hard my body shook, but I tried to muffle the sobs so I wouldn't disturb her rest. The system's voice was full of pity. Host, it was a small knife. She's fine. She's not waking up because of the anesthesia. Please stop crying. And for the love of God, wipe your nose. You're going to scare her back into a coma when she wakes up. Okay. I sniffled, pulling myself together. Later that evening, I went downstairs to get some food from the hospital cafeteria. When I came back, Isabel was awake, propped up against the pillows. She smiled faintly. I'm glad you didn't leave. Her lips were pale, her voice weak. The oversized hospital gown, the 4-line, taped to her hand. She looked like a fragile, wilting flower. Screw being the villain. I couldn't do it anymore. My heart ached with a sharp, stabbing pain. I dropped the tray of food on the table and threw my arms around her, finally letting myself break down and cry. The system let out a small, dry cough. She's been awake since you left the cafeteria, you know? Made the nurse hook her up to a glucose drip to keep up the weak act. Guess all that scheming wasn't for nothing. I didn't listen. I just focused on feeding Isabel, piece by piece. The day she was discharged, the weather was beautiful. Isabel held my hand as we walked home, talking about what we should make for dinner. I remembered something. You should probably go back to work, I said. Isabel thought about it, a look of reluctance on her face. Then she leaned in and kissed me. Only if I can take you with me. I agreed with every fiber of my being. Mission successfully completed. $10 million secured. Female lead secured. The end.